So, in reintegrating of my shadow self, I keep leaving this note, and I read it, and then I check out, and I lose my mind. This is what's going on. This is what I'm trying to do. That's it. This is my mission. These are my parameters. I need to stick with these, and I need to talk more about what happened. It's important. When I first started working with Lilo, we immediately developed an amazing rapport. She's recovering from polysubstance abuse, severe depression, shame, guilt, and she was taking care of her father, who was a very, very good man. He was dying, and he was also surviving. So he had lived past his prognosis and was now basically being allowed to fall through the cracks. And Lilo was like, no, I'm going to stop pursuing my college degree, and I'm going to go and be a caregiver for my father. So what ended up happening was she got into a relationship with this young man, and he was very much into polysubstances. So you name it, they would do it, and every day, all day, because her job was to just sort of sit around and not sit around. I need to really reframe that. She was taking care of her father, and she had a lot of downtime, so she liked to get altered. So what ended up happening was this guy latched onto her, narcissistic rage, and he basically exploited her to the point of just draining her. He lived at the house with Lilo, and Lilo basically took care of him while he just did whatever, and he ran the show because he knew that he could use the leverage of his partner's ultimate anticipatory grief to control the situation, and he did for several years. So during our therapy with Lilo was my client. There was one session where I had him come in, and in that session, my whole body reacted to his very presence. I started to shake inside. I saw his face. I made eye contact with him, and I immediately looked away because I knew what he was, not just who he was. I knew what he was, and because of that, I began to recognize once again that the theories that I had taken on board in graduate school about Carl Jung and dream interpretation, mysticism, even the integration of the shadow self, I had reached a point where it wasn't magic, it wasn't a power, it was merely transcending to a new level of empathy, to where now I can regularly spot predators. And I'm not just talking about the predators that we see on TV or the predators that we see in movies. I am talking about narcissistic, covert rage that has no longer been integrated into the self and has thus been repressed to such a degree that what you're seeing now is overt apathy, and also because of that apathy, empathy is now being targeted and destroyed, and it's working. And I needed to get that out. That young man, by the way, 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later, I can't remember that timeline from the point that I met with him, talked to him, And I had regular sessions with Lilo. This is on the news, by the way, so this can all be in Salem, Oregon. He went to her, so she broke up with him. That night, he went to her house, her father's house. She had two of her best friends with her. They were armed, they were ready, and he had his brother with him. They were armed and they were ready, and there was a firefight, and he and his brother won, because they were ambushed. Even though they were armed and ready, they were ambushed. He pulled up in a sports car, unloaded on him, reloaded, unloaded on him again, and then the friend came out and did the rest. And they left her for dead. She played dead because, well, she was dying, and so that helped, right? She immediately went into shock. She'd been shot 8 or 9 times in the stomach. He fled the scene and he went south. I think he ended up in Eugene or it's on the news. I don't know all of that stuff. I don't fill in those gaps. What I do know is that I had to file an incident report with my agency and an NDA assuring them that I wouldn't talk about any of this, that it was all privileged communication, and that my involvement in the case would be nil if Lilo decided to go to me for any sort of information on my inferences or my instincts. That is not enough information, apparently. He got away. He went to court. She was there. She testified on his behalf, and he got away. The brother was charged with homicide. The brother is in prison for murder. And that little psycho is using, I black out, I have PTSD, and that is why I now know how to spot evil. It's quite simple. And the people that I'm no longer talking to from this day forward, I have considered to be narcissistic, raging, evil motherfuckers, and they have failed. They have failed at life, and they are trying to pull other people down with them. I got news for you. The world has already ended, and it's now that we are deciding if altruism weighs over personal gain. It's a simple question, and if you can't answer that, you're on the other side of the glass.